Okay, welcome. We are back with the part 2 on the Knowing My Husband's Personality to Build a Stronger Marriage, and just want to get right into it. Hopefully you've downloaded the discovery worksheet that I have on my website. I go there, download it, find out what your personality is, and try to get your husband to take it if you can. If not, you can probably fill it out on his behalf and you'll get a good idea what personality your husband is. But I want to get right to it so we don't have too long of a video, because I know you guys need the information and you need to get on with your lives. So the first part, and if you didn't watch the first part, you're going to need to stop this video, go back and watch part 1, because that's the foundation. I just basically talked about all 4 of the different personality types, and we talked about the strengths and like how to, the visible clues that you can spot them in a crowd. So today we're going to start with the weaknesses. So a little bit of a tougher part of the conversation here with these personalities, because yes, we have lots of great strengths, but sometimes if we go to extreme, we can be working in our weaknesses, and more so than we would like to admit. Just a little bit about me. My name is Christy Marcotte, and I have a blog on the internet called straighttalkforwives.com. And it's a great blog. I do videos, I have a podcast, I do blog posts, and I also am a support group leader at my church for specifically a support group specifically for wives who are going through a little bit of a challenging season in their marriage. And I absolutely love it. I love the gals that come, and I would highly recommend, if you're going through a challenging season in your marriage, go to your church and see if they have a support group. And if they don't have one, you start one, because we wives, we need support, okay? We need support to get through marriage and build it and make it stronger. So, all right, back to our personalities. So if we talk about some of the strengths, we're going to start with the first one, the Fun Fred and Felicia personality. This is my dominant personality, and everybody will kind of have more of a dominant one and then kind of a secondary one. So I'm up here in these two, and if you've taken the test or did the discovery worksheet to discover which one you are, you'll know kind of what your top 2 totals are of the columns. So anyway, weaknesses. Some of our weaknesses, Fred, if you're married to Fun Fred, some of his weaknesses you may have already discovered, but sometimes is they don't stop talking. I mean, they can talk to strangers. We can walk up to people who we swear we know, they look so familiar, and then we will usually be wrong and embarrass ourselves and our spouse. So that can be a weakness. They talk too much. I tend to have to keep telling myself, stop talking, I need to stop talking, because I can tend to talk too much. I don't like that dead silence. I feel like something's wrong with it. And so when my husband and I are sitting in the same room, we're sitting on the couch, and if there's not a TV on or something, I feel like I need to fill the silence with my voice. I need to talk. And so that can be a weakness. If you struggle with this, if you're a Fun Felicia, just being aware of it helps you realize, okay, I need to zip the lip for a little bit, let other people share, instead of continuously dominating the conversation. That can be a big weakness if you are always constantly dominating the conversation. It could be when you're talking in a group setting and somebody tells, something that they did over the weekend. You got to top that by your story for the weekend, and you feel like you're constantly doing that. That can be a weakness. So again, being outgoing and loving to talk is a great strength. Being an extrovert, as we are up here, but we just don't carry it, just keep it in balance. That's the important thing with these weaknesses, is usually it's out of balance. You're way overboard in a certain area. Hence my videos get really long, because I just keep talking, right? I just want to make sure I give you all the information I can. Sometimes we lack focus. If you're married to Fun Fred, he might lack focus just a little bit. That could be a weakness. Remember what I said in the first video that it is, these are general characteristics of the 4 personalities. You are completely unique. God has designed you like no one else. But this is a general weakness. May not be for your husband. He might be Fun Fred, but he's got pretty good focus, because maybe this is his dominant, and he's just as a secondary right here. Okay, so you're a blend of all 4. Remember, you're a blend of all 4. Another weakness that they have is, besides talking too much, they lack focus, is they can't say no. Because they love people so much and they're kind of relationally driven, they have a hard time saying no. Maybe they have a deadline coming up, but yet their coworker says, oh, let's go to lunch. Come on, I haven't seen you in so long. I really want to catch up and all that. And we just can't. Okay, I'll be able to get it done. I'll be able to get that work done, but I got to go to lunch with my friend. And that's kind of what we will do sometimes. And as it's a wonderful thing to be relational, sometimes we do have to say, no, I can't go this time. I have got to get this deadline done. And so it's very hard for this personality to really, say, no, I can't commit to that, or no, I can't participate in decorating for, the volunteer activity that's going on. Because we want to. We love to say yes to people. And we love to be involved in activities and groups and parties and all that stuff. So we can tend to have a hard time saying no to people. The other thing too is like volunteer, somebody can talk you into volunteering for things. And I know this can happen at work a lot. So if you have a Fun Fred, he could get, people can easily rope him into being in charge of this committee or that committee. And that could, you might be able to be thinking in your head, yes, we keep arguing about him spending too much time at work, or bringing work home, or organizing things that, really it's somebody else's responsibility, and yet he's taken on that task. And you're like, why are you doing this? Because maybe you're down here and you don't necessarily have a problem telling people no. You're totally fine with that. But you're married to Fun Fred, he might have a challenge with that. And hence, what happens is they tend to get overcommitted, because they do commit to things. And this is one of my biggest weaknesses, and I struggle with it. Even today, I struggle with this. There's so many things I want to do, and I want to do all these videos, and I want to do all these, blog posts, and write all these books and all this stuff. And so I can get myself, committed to too many things, and then have a really hard time with follow through, which is one of our weaknesses also, is follow through. Like, we are great for sign up. We are great for starting up the company thing. But, the perseverance isn't always there. So just keep that in mind as a possible weakness. And you could be thinking, that's why we have this argument all the time. My husband has no time for me, because he is always committing himself to other people. If your husband is a Fun Fred, this could be a weakness for him. So just keep that in mind as we go through the rest of these personalities, because you may not be a Fun Felicia. Maybe you're down here and this is one of your personalities, but your weaknesses are coming. So just wait. Some of their common fears are fear of just boredom. Life being boring. They're afraid of that. And so if your husband's really depressed or something, and he's a Fun Fred, which is really unusual for his personality to be depressed, it's usually environmental. It's usually situational, meaning there's some situation that has really gotten him down, because that's not a typical thing that your Fun personalities will experience, is depression. Totally can, but if life is just not fun, because that's another fear, is that just it's no fun. I'm not having any fun. Like, life's just no fun anymore. Those kinds of things. That's a fear. Another fear is not being liked by everybody. I mean, this person, we love to have people like us. And if, as soon as you please one person, you're going to be not pleasing somebody else. You say yes to one person and you have to say no to somebody else. Even God can't make everybody happy. if he says yes to one person that's been praying for it to rain, and that means if he answers that prayer request, then another person who's praying for sunshine for that day, their prayer is not going to get answered if it rains. So even God cannot make everybody happy at the same time. So we have to remember that not everybody's going to like us. We're kind of obnoxious sometimes, and not everybody likes that. Not everybody is going to like us. And that's just sometimes that's hard for this Fun Fred and Fun Felicia to accept. And so we have that as a fear, is that we're somehow somebody's not going to like us. And that, as you know, that can cause a lot of other issues. Doing things for people you shouldn't do, like enabling them because you desire their acceptance. You desire them to like you and so that can be a problem. And then their key needs are they need attention and approval. They need attention and approval. So your husband, if he's Fun Fred, he really needs your attention and he needs your approval of him. It's like we crave that. If that's your personality up here and your husband's down here, if he's struggling with understanding and you're feeling lonely and you're like, gosh, I just don't get his attention, I don't get his approval, and maybe it's other words that you're sensing in your heart, but that could be why. And just understanding that helps you become a better wife, and it will help your husband too if he understands that about you. And you won't feel like I'm the only one that feels this way. All right. How can you improve your relationship with that person? So if your husband is a Fun Fred, you can give him lots of physical affection and your attention that way, because we love hugs. We're huggers, right? This up here, we're just big huggers. And every time I go and I see my cousins for the first time, like, I hug and kiss them. And I mean, like, I don't have a problem with that. My husband is not like that. His personality is not like that. If he sees cousins or family members, he'll shake their hand. That's sufficient. High five, not the hug and the kiss, especially like kiss on the lips. Don't think so. Too many germs. Us up here, we don't care. We probably already have those germs anyways. Another thing you can do to improve your relationship with them is laugh at their jokes. Like, we love to tell stories, right? Laugh. Make them think their story is amazing. Maybe it's not the best one-liner or best story that you've ever heard or best joke, but if you want to improve your marriage, which I hope that's why you're watching this video, is to improve your marriage, I hope that you will really get that. To improve your marriage with this person that has this personality, you got to do the affection, you got to give them the attention that they need. Listening to their stories and all the details, because they like to elaborate on all the fun, colorful details. Listening to all those details and not rolling your eyes too much, maybe reducing that, not doing that so much. That will help your relationship. It'll improve it a lot. Surprising them with gifts or spontaneous activities, because remember, we like that. So Fun Fred, he likes spontaneous things. He likes that surprise birthday party. He loves that. So those kind of little surprises, you get extra points for those. Then the big thing with Fun Fred is finding ways to have creative fun with them. Being creative and having fun together. That's important to them. Family time, make it fun. For me, that's important. We got to do fun things together. Or if we have to do something, let's make it fun somehow. Make it fun somehow. And that will dramatically improve your relationship. And maybe it'll reduce a bunch of conflict that you're having. Or at least just open your eyes to find out why we're having all this conflict. All right, moving right along over here to Confident Carl and Claire. Confident Carl and Claire. They're your confident personality. This is your confident personality over here. And if you have a husband that this is his dominant personality, he does have some weaknesses. So let's get right to it. Some of his weaknesses are he might be too bossy. Might be a little too bossy. And since I'm this over here too, I have to be careful because I can be too bossy also. Like, they don't call me Mama Bear at the office for nothing, okay? Like, yeah, I think I probably tend to get a little bossy sometimes and want to just tell people what to do. But be careful, because that, being confident and being a leader and being in charge of something, or taking charge of something, is a strength. But pushed to an extreme is bossy. It's rude, bossy, pushy. Those kinds of things are weaknesses. They can tend to be insensitive. That just is a general weakness. Another thing is, can be opinionated. That's another weakness. They could be kind of impatient, because remember, they're driven. They want to get from A to B. They can tend to be pretty driven, and that sometimes can mean that they're impatient. And I think I might have told the story about, I was, and I don't know if I told it in the last video, but I did this with a friend of mine. We were leading a high school group, and this was many, many years ago, and our high school girls' Bible study, and we were planning a retreat for them. And this was really bad of me. We were planning different activities and stuff, and she was going to take the Saturday night activity, the message and activity, and I was doing Friday. And so we were talking and working things out at my house one day, kind of planning and stuff. And I brought up this, and I have a great idea for Saturday night. We can have them make this and that. And I just was, telling her what she should do on Saturday night too, even though she was in charge of Saturday night. And she kind of sat for a minute, was really quiet. This is her personality down here. She was very cool, Chloe. And she looked at me and she said, if I'm going to take this whole weekend to be away from my family and plan all of this stuff, I would like for you to let me do it. And just let me do Saturday night. And I was just like, oh, you should have seen the look on my face. I was just like white. I was like, oh gosh, I did that. I bulldozed her. I was bulldozing what I felt was best. I was like, I've got all these good ideas we can do. And I didn't really give her the chance to lead the day she was in charge of. I was going to take over that too. And so sometimes, because we might have some great ideas, we just think that, everybody's going to love it. If we've given it to them to be in charge of, we have to just let them be in charge of it, even if they're a different personality and they are in charge differently. I was kind of a bulldozer, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. And, let her have it and try to stay out of the way. But it's hard for us if we're naturally gifted up here in that area and leading. It's hard for us to kind of just stay back in behind the scenes and kind of just, that's really hard for us to do. So just keep that in mind. If that's your husband, it's really hard for him to do that. So try not to take it personally. It's just, that's his personality. He tends to have a hard time letting you take charge of something because he's used to being in charge, and he likes to be in charge. Another weakness, if you go to an extreme, is you dominate, which I kind of just already been mentioning. And you can kind of, when you do this, and I should put my drink down. When you do that, sometimes it'll make you almost look like you're arrogant, because it's who do you think you are to lead? And so just be cautious of that. Be cautious if you see people kind of rolling their eyes, or they're like, we've heard this again for the 5th time. Just be aware of that. If this is your personality, or if your husband is a confident Carl, when you go, gosh, he's acting so cocky right now. Okay, it's his personality. Just remind yourself, it's his personality. It's not necessarily intentional. Some things that they're afraid of. They're afraid of losing control. That's kind of one thing. They're afraid of losing control, or not having control over everything. They can be afraid of losing their job. Where if you're over here in the Fun Fred, hey, you'll get another job, no problem, no worries. But this can be a hard thing, because it's kind of it's just a fear. It's just kind of a general fear that they have. It's what am I going to do? Because they're kind of known for, their accomplishments, right? So they can have that as a fear. Another thing is, if they don't have a supportive spouse that supports them and really admires their leading abilities, that can be a fear of theirs, just like the fear of not having that support, or having maybe a rebellious child could be a fear also for this personality. So if your husband is very fearful of your children going away wayward, right, or off the beaten path, that could be something that maybe plagues them a little bit more heavy, weighs on them heavier than maybe this personality or this personality, because this one, we're fun, hey, it'll work out, don't worry. How do you improve your relationship with them? Well, very easy, very easy. Two of their needs, or most important needs, are they need appreciation and they need accomplishment. They need to accomplish things. You know, they're the task, you know, they're driven, like I said, so they need accomplishment and they need appreciation. So how do you improve your relationship with them? You show them appreciation. You tell them all the time how much you appreciate that they work so hard every day and they sacrifice for the family. And just telling them that is really important. And a really easy way to show them is they worked hard all day, and maybe you've worked hard all day too, but if this is his personality, when he comes home, it's, you know, making dinner for him, showing the appreciation. That's how we show appreciation. Maybe being extra cautious about keeping the house tidy, because you're showing that you're taking care of the home that he's providing if he's the main breadwinner of the family. Different ways to improve would be, you know, letting them be in charge more, kind of stepping back and just letting them be in charge. And if you're down here and that's not very hard to do, but I'm up here and I'm actually this personality as well. This is part of me too. So when you share this personality with your spouse, you're going to butt heads a lot. So that conflict is going to be noticeable, because there might be fireworks in your marriage. And so if you are like fireworks going off all the time, maybe you guys share this personality. So one way is to say, you know what, to help improve it or help relieve the stress or tension all the time, for everybody arguing about every little thing, like where you're going to go to dinner, what are you going to have for dinner, what are you going to have for dessert, you know, what street you're going to take to get there. Let him make the decision. If your husband is confident, Carl, just back off on that. Don't die on that hill. You know, something you can say to him is, I just don't know how you do what you do. It's just so amazing how you can get all of this stuff done. And, you know, my husband is really good at, you know, multitasking and managing different things and being able to get things done. And it's like, me, I can't even get done the first thing I start. I mean, you know, I'm just like, I'm a little fluttery butterfly. Land on this flower. Oh, do a little bit here. Go to the next flower. I mean, I'm a mess sometimes. And then keeping communication short and to the point. That's a really quick, easy thing you can do on a day-to-day basis with them, is just, you know, men, I tell this to the gals a lot at my support group. Guys like things in bullet points. I hate to say it, but they really like things more so in bullet points than long paragraphs. I mean, just think of everything you see online. Like, you just go and you like the lists, right? So, you know, when your husband comes home from work and you want to tell him about something that happened at work that day, think of the like most top 2 or 3 points in it and get those out there. And if he understands your personality, maybe over here, the need to talk and all of that, he may be a little more understanding and be willing to listen, okay, to the more of the details. And my husband's kind of got that over, you know, 20 years now. We kind of figured out that he's just got to listen, doesn't need to fix it, because they'll tend to want to fix everything they hear. If there's any kind of situation, he'll want to tell you how to make it better or tell you how to fix it or something. And I have to just literally tell him, I don't need you to tell me how to fix it, because I can probably fix it. I just want you to hear and just, you know, I'm venting right now. I have to tell him, I'm venting right now. You know, whereas if I was talking to a girl, I wouldn't have to tell her that. Like one of my girlfriends, I wouldn't have to say, I'm venting right now. She just gets it, and she just kind of empathizes with me. Husband, not so much. But that's some ways you can improve your relationship with them, is just be, you know, get to bullet points. That's just a really big thing with them, because they need to get on to the next task, right? All right, let's move right along, because I'm starting to get long-winded myself. excellent personality. So we've got excellent Elizabeth and Edward. Excellent Elizabeth and Edward, yes, they do have some weaknesses. Not many. No, they do. They do. They're just like everybody else. They may be excellent, just like we're confident, fun, cool, excellent, but we still have some weaknesses. Just like you have the 4 seasons, right? You have winter. There's some awesome things about winter, and there's some not so fun things about winter. Spring, same thing. Summer, same thing. Fall, same thing. Okay? There's good and bad in all 4 of these personalities. And you want to operate in your strengths more than weaknesses. So, we're not looking for perfection here because we aren't going to get that till we go to heaven. So, all right, some common weaknesses. They kind of lack spontaneity. They're not really about the whole doing the spontaneous thing. They plan things out. They like the structure and all of that. So they're not into anything spontaneous. They can tend to be a perfectionist, and they can tend to be the person who has to, the analysis paralysis, they cannot put something out there or turn something in. So if you have a child that has this personality, it's really hard for them to turn something in that they feel may not be that really high quality that they expect of themselves. They can tend to be that negative Nancy, or negative Ned, I guess. They can definitely go in that they're maybe glass half empty type. Here's what my husband calls it, because his dominant personality is down here. And then his secondary is up here. So if your husband's down here, he has a secondary one. He might be sharing this one. So if he's down here, my husband would say, I'm realistic. Where me up here, I'm in the clouds. Like, I'm just idealistic, okay? And so I'm not being realistic. Well, I would call that, maybe you're on the negative side if you're a glass half empty person. And typically you marry your opposites. So if you find that your husband tends to be negative Ned all the time, he might be excellent Edward, but he may be sounding like negative Ned a lot. Could be his personality. So that could be an eye-opener for you. Let's see, some of the other weaknesses, they can tend to be critical because they do have such high expectations. They can be critical of other people because they expect in their head, if that's the way they feel things need to be, they assume everybody else should be that way too, or should think the same way. But when you learn that you have different personalities, you realize not everybody is like that. Some other people can say, this is good enough. This is good enough. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. They also can tend to be suspicious of others, because remember, they make friends cautiously. They're very cautious when they make friends, so they can tend to be suspicious of other people. So if you're married to excellent Edward, he may only have like 1 or 2 other friends, and they can tend to be suspicious. So that can be a weakness, because it's kind of like you're guilty until proven innocent type situation. So if you can see in your mind how some arguments have been erupting in your house, potentially with that in mind, this could be why. And so their needs. These are their needs, and this is how you can improve your relationship with them. So a couple fears. Let me just get a couple fears. They fear that people may not really understand truly how they feel inside, because they are introverted. They're kind of deep, sensitive, and sometimes we don't always read them the right way because they are deep and they're introverted. So they kind of have this fear that people really don't understand how they really feel. Well, we really don't. You got to tell us, right? But we may have to pull it out a little bit more. They fear making mistakes. They really fear making mistakes, and so they're not risk takers. They're just not risk takers. And then they also fear having to compromise. So in a marriage, you have to compromise. But especially when the compromise means they have to lower their standards. My husband and I, we're total opposites. Like, I'm just like, when I buy things, I want to get the and I hate to stereotype, I want to get the Honda version, not the Mercedes version of whatever it is. I want the thing to just get me from A to B. I want it just to do a good job. I don't need the bells and whistles. I don't need the top of the line. But because what's so important to them is quality is so important, that they have a hard time settling for something they feel is just not quality. And they camp on this term. They camp on, well, you get what you pay for, and you just need to, spend the money because, they can make it a safety issue. I mean, it's just like, you've got to get this because it's just, you don't want to get that other stuff because that's crap type thing. Where it's like, you may not be able to afford that high quality and that level that they want. And so that's sometimes a fear, is having to compromise and lower their standards. So that could be some reasons why you're having lots of arguments. My husband and I have them all the time. All the time. We have to constantly get that balance between us of me. I'm just like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just not, I don't need to have that. Quality is not super important to me. I want like the best price, right? Like I want the, bottom price. Sometimes I get the junk because, and then it breaks halfway when it should be lasting longer, and then I end up figuring out, gee, I should have went with the more expensive one. It would last me longer. So anyway, here's some needs. They need space, they need sensitivity, and they need some silence. Space, silence. So if you've got lots of kids running around, something that will really help your relationship with him and help him just be in a good mood in the evenings is give him some time. Like when he comes home from work, give him some time to go off into the bedroom, change his clothes, and just have some quiet, like 20-30 minutes if possible. That might right away improve his mood for the evening, instead of coming home and just like throwing children at him and giving him, oh, this broke, and or giving him like all this stuff. I mean, just give him a chance, give him that peace and quiet. Another way that'll improve, when you go to parties, hey, drive separate. It works for me and my husband. Or if it's a neighborhood party, don't be upset when he wants to leave early. Because guess what? He's introverted. He's not going to want to stay for 5 hours like you do. Like you would stay probably all day, even though the party isn't all day. But he's not going to like that. And so getting in a fight over what time you leave or how long you stay is silly. Because you know what? To improve your relationship with him, realize he can only handle maybe 2 hours of a party, and he's done. So if you would like to stay longer, then guess what? You might just drive separately, and then you'll both will be happy. And don't be upset when he wants to leave early. You just gotta deal with it. Give him some space. I said you could do that to help improve the relationship. I said that one. Blah blah blah. Give him plenty of this is an important one. Give him plenty of warning before social activity or doing something. Probably throwing something on him at the last minute, like, oh, guess what? We have a meeting at the school tonight for our child. Give him a forewarning, ahead of time. He doesn't like things spontaneous, so give him heads up. Guess what? Our daughter has 5 friends over when you get home from work. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. Maybe if you want to take your time, go to the gym after work. I mean, stuff like that. Just giving him a heads up. Instead of being upset when he comes home and he's just like, there's this awful look on his face. And it's like all the kids are like afraid because like, oh my gosh, what do we do? When basically he was just coming into a situation he wasn't prepared for. And they like to be prepared adequately. All right, last one. And I'm going over my time like I didn't want to go this long, but this is good stuff, so listen up. All right, so our last personality, Cool Cal and Chloe. All right, if your husband is Cool Cal, he being more relational driven, some of his weaknesses, here's some of his weaknesses. They don't like conflict at all, and so maybe they'll tend to avoid conflict. They will avoid it like the plague. So if there's like an issue you've been trying to address, this could be why, because they like things peaceful, and they want to stay cool and calm, and addressing that big huge issue is just really hard for them, extra hard for them, and it's a weakness. they do have a hidden will of iron. They're calm and cool and like, they could have a solid iron will inside of them. So sometimes it's hard to get them to make those life changes, like moving cross country or something like that, could be really challenging for them because they don't make change easily, those big changes. They go with the flow in social circumstances and kind of easygoing in that aspect and with people. But personally making big changes or having to address personal issues is a weakness. They kind of try to avoid it because that can be really stressful, and they want calmness. Some things that they fear are, like I just said, dealing with a major change, something that's just kind of like life altering, like a big move, or alcoholism. If that's a big issue in their life, that could be why they don't want to deal with it, because it's going to cause a lot of changes to happen. And so they can avoid dealing with some of that stuff because they just, hey, let's be cool, let's not deal with that. So anyway, here's some of the ways that you can improve your relationship with him. You can give him downtime. If you're up here and he's down here, you could be wearing him out. He does not like to go. He needs to have calmness. So giving him that space, giving him that time to just chill together with people. Because remember, these two, relational driven, these are more task driven over here. So we want to go accomplish things. Over here, they want to chill, cool, hang out. Oh, the needs. The two main important needs for Cool Cal, and this will help you improve your relationship with him, is peace and quiet, and a feeling of self-worth and respect. So those are just kind of needs that they need. They need to have you respect that they want to chill and they don't want to do 20,000 things every single weekend. So the other ways that you can improve your relationship with him, if you got a Cool Cal that you're married to, is, when they're talking, don't interrupt them. Sometimes they tend to be kind of walked on because they kind of they're kind of cool, they're kind of in the background. But be cautious and listen. Take the time to listen, because probably you're an opposite personality. You like to bulldoze. Try not to do that with them. Give them that time to share their feelings. Let them process. They may not process on the fly like you do. It might take them time to ingest things and process things. And they may come back later. Don't get upset and start pouncing on them and say, oh, we gotta talk about this right now. This is a big deal, la 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 la. Give them time. Say, this is an issue I'd like you just to think about. Give them time to process it. That'd be probably a huge help in your relationship. And, just slowing down yourself to enjoy the calm and peace with them, because they are relational driven, but not necessarily extroverts like us. Like, relationship with us is like, oh, party, activity, what can we do? And with them, it's just like be with one other person. Being with, doesn't need to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people in a party. Just spending time with that person. You could say something to them like, I love you for being so understanding, or such a good listener, if they're a good listener. Just being available. And that's something that is really overlooked with this personality. They are usually the ones that are available to other people because they're not overcommitted up here like we tend to be, and they're not in their own world, planning and analyzing and everything, and so they tend to be available, which is a really great quality. So tell them that. Tell them what you appreciate about them. And what else? When you're talking to them, because they're cool personality, watch your tone. My body language, because I'm up here on the top, extrovert, like I'm like, la, in your face, okay? They're not. they're reserved, they're calm, cool, and collected. So you need to tone it down. Get on their level with them. Don't just bombard them with your animation and everything. It's just like, they're just like, oh, chill out, you know, relax. So you want to relate more to your husband and he's down here, Cool Cal? Sit down next to them, talk eye to eye. Don't bombard them or overload them with your amazing stories. Just try to get on their level. Watch your tone, because they appreciate that. All right, that's it. I hope you've got some great tips on how to improve your relationship with your husband, depending on what personality is, how he's designed. And again, you can go to my blog, straighttalkforwives.com. You could subscribe to this video on YouTube, or just subscribe to my channel, and so you can get all the videos that I put out. So I'm trying to do like one video a week or so, but I'm also doing a live blab on Fridays on the same topic, and we go into detail, so even more detail. And then I'm hoping to, in not too long from now, if I can get myself, I keep starting new things, but I'm going to be creating a video course on this, as well as the rest of the factors in that wives should consider in a strong marriage. This is the first factor, just understanding your husband's uniqueness by knowing his personality. And the next one that we're going to talk about in the next video that I will produce, that I haven't done yet, is understanding their history. So that's the next factor. It's a huge factor in marriages. Your history, how you were brought up, the people in your past, they have a big impact on who you are today. And so be watching for that video, because it's going to be coming in about a week. And it's on understanding your husband's history. And that's by knowing his story. It's by knowing his story. What are the pieces of his past? So I look forward to seeing you next time. And in the meantime, just subscribe, go to my blog, read some of the blog posts, leave me a comment, please, ask me questions, whatever. All right, see ya.